Hello again. So welcome to my channel one more time. I know you miss me and my videos. So here we are with Katrina, and we are going to talk about Sagittarius rising for 2025. And welcome, Katrina. Thank you for accepting my invite. And it's great to have you here with me. I missed you too, since the classes. So how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And thank you so much for having me here, Matt. It's such a pleasure to join you and to look at the year ahead for Sagittarius rising. If people aren't aware, I am a Sag rising, so I'm really excited to look at these transits.
Exactly. So I will share the charts. And in the meantime, like if you want to introduce anything of your work and projects, like you can also talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So people can find me mainly at my Instagram page, Katrina Astro. I'm also on TikTok at Katrina Astrology, and I am also on YouTube at Katrina Astro. And on my Instagram page, I teach a lot of basic astrology for people that are new to astrology. I try to make astrology accessible for everyone. I do a number of things. I look at horoscopes for the rising signs. I also look at planetary energies, transits, and I look at celebrity birth charts as well from time to time.
Wow, perfect. You do such amazing stuff. So I love following
Yeah.
you. I love seeing your stuff. So they are so interesting and you have a very different insight. So then I love the analysis, every analysis that you do regarding everything. And I also know that you don't enjoy talking about horoscopes and future like horoscopes, but
No.
for that, like it will also be some type of excitement for both of us. I'm also saying so. Like I don't really like horoscopes or predictions, but I love the bigger transits. So bigger transits will be important because the major planets will change everything. So before we get into next year. So let's talk about the current transits. So we have like Jupiter in Gemini, Uranus in Taurus, Neptune, Saturn in Pisces, and so on. So for that, how has in these transits been for you as a Sagittarius rising? So what can you say one by one shortly about them?
I might start with outer planet Uranus because it's so slow moving. That has
Mhm.
been in Sagittarius's sixth house for a long time now. And all Sagittarius risings have probably had some element of a breakthrough or a change, perhaps in their work life, their career. They could be now doing something a little bit alternative. They could have a side hustle. They could have also had like an unexpected period, maybe of ill health or have gone down, an alternative healing route, or have had something disruptive happen in their work life with Uranus entering into that sixth house. And it's nearly finished its job there in the sixth house. But positively, it could have looked like a huge breakthrough around career or work life. And I think it was kind of co-present with Pluto having been in the second house, of income for, I guess, 15, 16 years. Pluto created changes to all Sagittarius's risings, work life, income, and sense of inherent value and worthiness. So a lot of Sagittarius risings might have changed careers, moved jobs, left a job, even been unceremoniously sacked from a job, or had probably maybe difficulty at work or unexpected upheaval in their career that was ultimately maybe for their highest good, and it's helping them find their voice. And now Pluto is kind of continuing that work, moving into the third house, Matt, because since Pluto moved into the third house, I started my astrology page. I started being a bit more authentic, being a bit more open about the fact that I practice astrology professionally, putting myself out there, putting my face to the internet. I have a lot of friends now who are astrologers. Aquarius is the alternatives. Yeah, so it's an interesting one. I think for Sagittarius risings, we're the truth seekers, the truth tellers of the zodiac, but a lot of us get into traditional type of work with Capricorn on our second house, but now the Pluto is in our third house. We're trying to be a bit more authentic. We're trying to find work maybe that is a bit more aligned with our values. That would be my take on those major outer transits. Would you agree, Matt?
Yeah, definitely agree. So Uranus sixth house. So I think there is some type of unpredictability. So I think you did things that you thought you will never do, like in your life, in your daily life, in your work. So that changed the, let's say, plans and routine and so on. So exactly. So I am also a Taurus rising. So I know Uranus pretty closely. So I can guess how it has been for you. And I'm also curious about Jupiter in the seventh house. So has that changed?
Yeah, so Jupiter in the seventh house, I suppose one thing to remember is that Jupiter is fallen in the sign of Gemini. So it's not the most benefic Jupiter. But with Jupiter in the seventh house, how it's manifested for me anyway is that I have kind of collaborated with a whole host of new people in my work, in my career, astrologically speaking. I've also made a lot of new one-on-one connections and friendships. I think it's because Jupiter, was Pluto and Jupiter are kind of doing something similar right now for Sagittarius risings. Pluto's bringing in new people, new circle, new connections, new one-on-ones. And I think for some Sagittarius risings, it may be bringing in new romance as well, or multiple romantic opportunities. But there is, that square there from Saturn co-present. So um, a lot of Sagittarius risings have been kind of dealing with family responsibilities and commitments to their home and family while trying to also maybe like socialize and pursue a romantic connection or put themselves out there, but find that maybe they can't go to all the things because there's some burden there, there's something pulling from the fourth house. So when Saturn is moving through the fourth house, it is a time where you are definitely a bit more insular, perhaps more introverted. I heard one astrologer say, Saturn and Pisces moving through the fourth house, you need to sleep more. And that's really true. I have found that I'm not someone that needs a lot of sleep. I have an Aries moon natally. I have so much fire in my chart. I found I'm sleeping more with Saturn into my fourth house. I find that I like staying in more than I might have normally. I'm more happier to do nothing. And so there's like Jupiter and Gemini wants to go out and form connections. Saturn and Pisces wants to stay home and, potter around the house and attend to the family. So I think it depends whether a Sag rising is partnered or single, how they've navigated, whether they have children or whether they're childless, how they've navigated that square, that conversation that's going on between Saturn and Jupiter all year. And it's going to continue into next year as well.
Exactly, but I think you navigated that through internet, social media, so you have lots of clients. So if you don't know, Katrina is booked until July or June. So like if you want to get a service from her, you have to wait or you have to hurry up. So I think that is also related to the abundance of people you are connected to, clients, people. Yeah, and you navigated that way.
Yeah, like I forgot that, Matt. Like I've had so many career opportunities. I really did not want to close down my system. I have long in-depth birth charts. These are the top sellers for me. They're the most expensive thing. And this is what people wanted. Saturn and Pisces. What does Saturn love? Saturn loves things that are long and take a lot of work. Jupiter and Gemini likes things that are fast. Bang, bang, bang. So it was a bit like, oh no, I have to sit down at home and do these long birth charts. I can't go to that party. So I made the decision, okay, I'm going to cut back on my readings. I'm booked out now till June. I'm going to do less. I'm going to prioritize socializing, trying to move out more and not be at home so much. So yeah, just my long birth charts are booked out till June. I have some short ones. They don't sell as well. People love the long ones, but yeah, Jupiter and Gemini likes things that are short, so I'm sure those will sell too in time.
Yeah, exactly. So we will see. Okay, so thank you for sharing your experience. And now let's see planet ingressions. So the first change will be in the middle of January. The North Node will get into Pisces to the fourth house. So what do you think it will change mostly? So from the fifth house to the fourth.
Yeah, well, one thing I do predict for some Sagittarius risings, especially those that might have recently met someone or might have recently partnered with someone, is that there could be an opportunity, for changes in the home life that might involve, a significant other, because the North Node has previously been in the fifth house, which was, the house of love, romance, and your passions and dating. So there could be a further cementing of a significant relationship with the North Node moving into the fourth house. And it's not going to be instantaneous, but there could be talk of, like, moving in together, or moving to, a new property, or perhaps buying a home together. Those could be positive manifestations of it, because Saturn will be there as well, and also Neptune. So there's a degree of idealism and dreaming, shared visions. And I also feel with the North Node moving into the fourth house, we have to remember that the South Node is going to be in the 10th house. And already it's almost like I can feel the nodes shifting, because I was just thinking, oh, I don't want to work so much in 2025. I'm closing down my website part of it. Um, I just was like, oh, I don't want to, like, be doing so much. So Sagittarius rising in 2025 from February onwards is going to feel this shift to not be so career oriented, and to focus more on what's, truly important in life. And the fourth house, does of course rule, not only your legacy, but also your family, your roots, who you are at your innermost core, who you are when you come home and you take off your work hat and you lock the door and you get to relax. So I think time at home, time with family, time maybe with loved ones, is going to become more important to Sagittarius rising. The Even though Sagittarius rising is the adventurer and the wanderer and the seeker, there's going to be a real shift to go inward. I think when the North Node moves to the fourth house, and as well, there could be potential, if somebody wants to start a family, this is obviously nice synergy too, because I don't want to jump ahead, but Saturn is going to be moving into the fifth house with Neptune. There's a lot of fifth house activity actually for Sagittarius risings next year.
Yeah, I love your perspective on connecting the fifth house and the fourth house. So yeah, the nodes go backwards. So I agree with you that I agree with you in that. So there might be some changes in romantic life, like moving in together, new house, new home environment, new family situations, and so on. So as you also mentioned, like the conjunction of Neptune and Saturn will also make you see that. So you also have seen that. So you don't want to work that much in next year. So you will have boundaries of home life, personal life, career. So Saturn conjunction, I think, will also be about that. So usually we experience transits before they happen. So this also happened for you. Uh,
100%. I actually forgot to add, Matt, that there is probably an opportunity too for Sag risings maybe to work from home more if they're in some kind of a corporate gig or a job where they're sick of the office, maybe working remotely more, because North Node in the fourth house, there's going to be such a huge emphasis on home, being at home. My home is my castle kind of a thing, or creating the
exactly.
ideal home, the ideal work-life balance. Work-life balance is going to probably be a big theme for Sag rising in 2025.
Yeah, I agree with you in that. And I'm also a fourth house person. I have fourth house sun, so I know the energy of the fourth house. It's totally that you describe.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the next ingression will be Saturn in Aries, I think the end of March. So first let's talk about Saturn in Aries energy. So what type of energy is that? So then for Sagittarius rising. So I think like it can be a bit problematic with Saturn in Aries. I don't know. So because
Yeah, Saturn doesn't like to
predictably,
be in Aries, of course. I think we need to acknowledge that. A bit like the fact that Jupiter doesn't do so well in Gemini, Saturn doesn't exactly thrive when it's in Aries. So that needs to be, we need to keep our expectations low-ish, is what I say. I always say, don't have too high expectations and you won't be disappointed. But Saturn, I guess, what has Saturn been doing in the fourth house? He has been forcing Sagittarius risings to put in place some boundaries with family. putting some boundaries in the household, and there might have been some increased responsibility and burdens that maybe have taken away from some of the fun that Sagittarius rising likes to have. And now Saturn moves into the fifth house of fun. It's almost like Sagittarius rising is going to have to get really serious about carving out time for fun. But one thing I will say is that, you know, when Saturn moves into the fifth house, you can get really serious about a hobby or a passion or something that was once something you did for fun. So maybe it was in the way I did astrology for fun, and then I got serious about it. But it could also be a creative talent that, you know, has been untapped. You know, somebody was once loved to sing and it was just for fun. And then when Saturn moves into the fifth house, Saturn will create a set of circumstances where you suddenly start to take a hobby or something for fun really seriously. And you mightn't necessarily monetize it, but you might start to study it seriously or work on it seriously. And there might be a sense of, you know, let's say somebody writes and they love writing, and then suddenly somebody notices their writing and they get commissioned to write a book or to write an article, and suddenly something that was fun and flowed becomes really serious and heavy. It becomes very crystallized by Saturn, and you have to really be careful and discerning. Similarly, in terms of dating, because the fifth house is the house of dating, Sagittarius risings, if they're single, are going to get super discerning about who they date with Saturn here. You're not going to be dating just anyone. You're not. If you have casual flings, you need to be careful with Saturn in your fifth house, because that casual fling could turn into something permanent. And also, if you're not interested in motherhood or fatherhood, when Saturn is in your fifth house, you need to practice safe sex. That needs to be said because Neptune is there too. So we could have like a really divine type of union. And I think the Saturn Neptune conjunction, it could manifest for everyone, not just for Sag risings, as, you know, like this kind of meeting of cynical energy with idealistic energy. So you could be like, I've met my dream man, Neptune in the fifth house. But then I'm not sure is he my dream man with Saturn there. So in a way, like Saturn and Neptune are kind of keeping each other in check. You know, Saturn won't let Neptune get too carried away. So I do think like it's kind of good that they're coming together, but it's pretty historic too. So something really, really special is being birthed in that fifth house for all Sagittarians. It might necessarily be a child. It could be a passion project.
Definitely, I agree with you. So, like Neptune might be too good, and Saturn might question, is it too good to be true? So, there might be this type of contradiction, but they will balance each other, as you say. And yeah, fifth house Saturn can also indicate parenthood, so new responsibility, which is. So this can be relevant. At the same time, I just want to add, fifth house is about gambling. So they should be careful with gambling, money, addictions, substances, or this type of things. So anything can turn into addiction, basically. So with Saturn, so it requires some detachment or responsibility in these themes. So yeah, struggling with addictions might be a theme, but at the same time, it can be about getting rid of an addiction because thanks to the like determination, thanks to the willpower, and so on. So I can also add that.
Yeah, I
Correct.
agree. I agree because if someone has an existing addiction, maybe that they have never really dealt with, when Saturn comes for the fifth house, you will have to face that addiction, especially if it's one involving, with Neptune, one involving a substance, like a mind-altering substance, alcohol or drugs, pharmaceutical or recreational. Yeah, there are definitely going to be consequences when those two planets are co-present.
Definitely. Okay, so we jumped Neptune, but Neptune got into the fifth house earlier. So now let's talk about Neptune in Aries. So that will be a big shift. So I connect Neptune in Aries with passion. So what gives me energy? What gives me passion? So also it will be in the fifth house, the house of Leo, the house of passion. So I believe you will get quite passionate about things that you love or things that you have fun. Maybe, again, it can be children entertainment hobby. But other than this, like, what do you think of Neptune in Aries?
I think Neptune being in the fire sign of Aries is going to be a really kind of unusual place for such a watery, elusive planet to be in, because Aries is so direct and so fast and so immediate. And I feel like Neptune, not that it almost like it's floundering there, like it could be like a dampening of the flame, but also like just it could be, it looks to me it smacks of like love at first sight, like like a passionate encounter, a Neptunian type individual coming into your life, like a total dreamboat and really really passionate, and then you wake up in the morning and Neptune isn't beside you in the bed, it's Saturn. That's what I'm looking at it from a fifth house point of view. But I'll be honest, Matt, I haven't really thought that much about how Neptune might manifest in the sign of Aries, but I do feel like on a collective level, it's going to be like the automation like of so many things in life that we never thought could be automated. Everything is going to, it's like instant gratification is going to become super, super instant to the point that you'll be like, oh my God, everything will be at the touch of a button. Like things we couldn't even dream. I see it like the self-driving cars will definitely be up and running, I reckon, for Neptune and Aries. All of these dream things, like we'll be driving around on maybe little hoverboards or something. But I just see Aries likes to do things fast, and Neptune is all this idealism. So all of these things, we might initially think, this is amazing, it's a dream. But, after a while, we might see that, oh God, like maybe this is not so good. Because with Neptune, things are never clear in the beginning. So it can be a case of like, all of these things ultimately maybe not being as good as they initially look on the outside. Yeah, so it could, even for Sagittarius risings, it could manifest as an amazing offer around their career or hobby or passion that initially looks great, like a dream come true. But because Saturn is there, Sag risings need to remember their Capricorn second house. Saturn is not going to let them be foolish with their career. So, like, that's the one thing. And they have that 10th house Virgo. So, like, Sag risings with all of their gusto and fire, they're still incredibly grounded when it comes to money because they've got Taurus in the 6th house as well. So, they're not going to get carried away. And, hopefully all Sag risings will have like a degree or kind of an element of awareness when Neptune comes into Aries, because I do see it as well as maybe being taken advantage of in some regard, something being too good to be true, from a 5th house perspective. So just a degree of caution might be necessary.
Exactly. So it will be the reflection of Saturn and Neptune balance. So we will see that in that house with Neptune. Perfect. So also, like, I just want to add, so Neptune can also be about inspiration, art, music. So if there are any artists, musicians who are Sag rising, so they can have some type of boost, creativity, like inspiration and so on. But at the same time, when they get this creativity, they should be structured with Saturn. So it's not like I want to do this now spontaneously and then it's over. So there needs to be some type of development, basically, like similar to what you
Yeah.
said.
And it could be like a meteoric rise to fame. Like someone who's a Sag rising suddenly becomes famous overnight with Neptune and Aries, bursts onto the scene. A bit like, Britney Spears when she got famous. She just became huge overnight with her hit. Neptune and Aries is a bit like that. But as you say, with Saturn there, there's that need to ground it. There's the need to take steps. There's the need to take it slowly and to question everything. Yeah.
I agree with you. And then I want to talk about Venus. So Venus is not a like collective planet, but it will retrograde from Aries to Pisces. So I think that will connect the themes of Aries and Pisces themes this year. So there is kind of a dance between Aries and Pisces in zodiac in next 2025. So Venus from the fifth house to the fourth house. So that will align with the North Node shift, and that will align with Saturn and Neptune shift. So how do you think that Venus also rules your sixth house? So how do you think that will retrograde will be about?
Yeah, well, I think I know Venus is retrograding from the sign of Aries, isn't it? Is it around March, I think maybe?
Yeah,
But
around March.
yeah, so when the Venus retrograde takes place, one thing all Sagittarius risings need to be careful of, because the fifth house is involved, they need to be careful for exes coming back, maybe old relationships coming back. And because Neptune and Saturn, are coming into that fifth house, a degree of caution is necessary before you entertain people from the past. Because Saturn, when Saturn comes for our fifth house, he wants to teach us a lesson. So all fifth house things, fifth house, love, romance, creativity, children, all of those things are important. And because, as you mentioned, Venus rules the sixth house, it could be like a work associate from the past coming back, an offer coming back round again in a different shape or form. It could be something that comes out of nowhere. It's a story. And then Venus in Pisces, I see that as maybe, similar to the Neptune in Aries transit, in a way that, like, almost like a dream work opportunity. And North being in Pisces could be like the opportunity to work from home looks so amazing. But because this is a story spanning several months because of the retrograde energy, I don't think Sagittarius risings should make any major life-changing decisions career-wise, maybe until Venus is at least direct and they have like a really clear picture of what's going on. Because it's not stable energy until Venus has finished that story. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. So it will go back and forth. At the same time, it is interesting. Venus isn't fall in Aries, but exalted in Pisces. So at least like they can choose the dates in which Venus is in Pisces rather than Aries to do
Mhm.
something. But it will be better to wait until Venus gets to Taurus in rulership to make big life-changing decisions related to work. And 11th house Libra, like also for like social environment, like friendships. So
Yeah.
this can also be a theme with that.
And I wonder, is it connected to like, having a new partner, moving in together, purchasing new stuff for the home together, or living together, because the fourth house and the fifth house are involved again. And this is the fourth house is ground that Saturn has already traveled, and the fifth house is where he is going to. So it's interesting that Venus, so like the fourth house and fifth house are just so highlighted for Sag risings next year. There's something really big emerging there. Um, and it's very connected to personal relationships, because we know that with Uranus as well, where he's going, and yeah, and Jupiter.
Yeah, definitely. So now let's talk about Jupiter. So I'm so excited for that. So I think in June uh, 9 or something, I don't remember the
I think it's
exact
the
date.
10th of June, yeah.
10th of June. Okay. So 1 days. Yes, 10th of June. Jupiter will get into Cancer, like from again from fall to exaltation. So, but Jupiter is also like will go into some type of problematic area, eighth house. So, like it will be exalted, but in the eighth house. So, I think there will be some, let's say, nuance there. So, it will be an interesting transit for you. So, yeah, how do you expect that? First of
Yeah,
all.
well, I think like Jupiter moving into the eighth house. Okay, well, the eighth house isn't like the most comfortable place for any planet to navigate. We discussed this off screen earlier. But Jupiter absolutely loves to be in the sign of Cancer. And when Jupiter goes into the eighth house for Sagittarius rising, one way this could manifest is like unexpected, you know, um, bonuses of income that maybe come from shared finances from a partner, or from a windfall from like an inheritance, maybe from family, because Cancer is ruled by the moon after all, and the eighth house can be inheritances as well. I also think it could even be a tax rebate or something like that, money back. And it's tied up to the Venus in Pisces and Venus in Aries story too, because a lot of Sag risings are monetizing their passions. This is a theme I've noticed with Sagittarius risings. They are doing side hustles. And of course, if you're doing any side hustle, when Saturn comes from your fifth house, you need to be paying those taxes. You definitely need to be squeaky clean by the time Jupiter comes for your eighth house. Have everything declared, because you don't want to be getting into any trouble, because Saturn is squaring Jupiter. Saturn in Aries is going to square Jupiter, and Neptune as well in Aries is squaring Jupiter. So I do feel that Sagittarius risings need to have all of their accounts in order and know exactly what they're doing. Just be mindful of that, because Uranus is at the critical, almost at the critical degree as well, in their sixth house. So like this change in their career, they need to make sure that it's all legitimate. Everything is above board, that they have declared everything. And and I think that will mitigate any potential problems that might arise. And then like from a different point of view, if Sag rising is partnered or dating, there could be like increased intimacy, or even issues around intimacy could come up, around authenticity, because the eighth house is like a really vulnerable place. We don't let everybody poke around in our eighth house. And Jupiter often comes in the form of a person who might see us in a way that might be potentially a little bit uncomfortable, how closely they see us. And I do feel that, because I always think when a planet is moving through Cancer, the energy fluctuates because it's answering to the moon. So I feel like there'll be lots of ups and downs. Everybody's really excited about Jupiter in Cancer, and I do feel it will bring in a lot of abundance and prosperity. And I do see as well, like collectively, maybe a return to family values, which is interesting when you think about who has just been elected, in the United States.
Yeah.
These old traditional family values of home and homemaking and all those things. So I think, answering to the moon, it will be up and down energy. I feel like Cancerian Sagittarius risings will need to really live by the moon when Jupiter goes into that eighth house, because there might be some days in the month where things will be a bit more hairy than other times
Yeah.
in the month. But positively, it could be like the merging with another person in a really happy union, and like joining together of assets, and being like, wow, like North Node in my fourth house, let's move in together. Let's share the bills. Let's put both of our names on the bank account. This is maybe like the most positive manifestation, if that's something you're seeking, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So now you inspired me with lots of things. So first, like with Saturn square, it will be like the initial warning. Okay, like there will be something good, but you have to like be open. You have to be honest. You have to like make sure that you don't owe anything to anywhere. So it will be something. And secondly, we talked about Saturn in the fifth house regarding parenthood.
Oh,
So
yeah.
eighth house is also a sexual house. So Jupiter eighth house might also enlarge the sexual desire. So that can end up in pregnancy or parenthood. So
Mhm.
it is also something that
It's
um,
the perfect recipe. That Jupiter Saturn square is the perfect recipe for, okay, you want to have fun? That's okay, but there's consequences to your fun. So it's probably quite a fertile time for Cancer. I keep saying Cancerians because I'm a Cancer myself, but it's a fertile time for Sag risings, and for anybody with strong Cancer placements, I imagine, with the
definitely.
Cancer energy there.
Yeah, and also like right now I'm going through like the Mercury retrograde in my eighth house. So now that I'm thinking, so eighth house is also related to psychology, fears, anxieties. So most negatively, the negative scenario might be like Jupiter might enlarge the fears, anxieties, especially related to family, related to life, related to privacy. But Jupiter in Cancer is also exalted and healing. So I think many Sag risings will also face their childhood, family, upbringing, and heal the issues or trauma, pain that stems from childhood. So this can also be a good scenario.
Yeah, and adding on to that, Matt, it could also be you meet someone significant. Saturn enters your fifth house. It's a serious, significant person, and it brings up a load of issues, intimacy wise, for you. And Jupiter in the eighth house, I always say when Jupiter enters your eighth house, it's a really good time to do therapy. It's a really good time to work on the skeletons in your closet. I always say take the skeletons out and dance with them when Jupiter is there, because it's like you can have fun, you can laugh about it. You know, you can say to the person, look, I am really excited to have met you, but this brings up a lot of fears for me around maybe abandonment or my childhood, yada yada yada. Jupiter in the eighth house is lovely, helpful, nurturing energy. But it's like, yeah, let's look at that. Let's take that out. But as you say, it's those squares from Saturn and Neptune that might be a little bit tricky to navigate.
Definitely. So I also want to talk about something just to add. So a couple of days later, so Jupiter will in conjunct Pluto. So I personally fond of Jupiter and Pluto aspects because like they can be related to uncovering some treasure. So that Pluto is buried, Jupiter treasure. So in the eighth house, as you said in the beginning, it can be related to some boost, some inheritance, or some income, or let's say some something surprise, something that indicates unexpected surprise. So in the first days of the transit, it can also be about that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to watch out for that. That inconjunct. You always say they're like in the nature of Uranus.
Yeah,
I remember I was listening in class, Matt, and
yeah, good to hear
I
that.
still read my notes.
Oh,
Past pupil here, star
yeah,
pupil.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
hopefully it would be something good, a good surprise.
yeah, yeah, hopefully, keep me updated. And then after Uranus, after Jupiter, the next transit will be Uranus into Gemini. So Uranus will be in your seventh house. So Uranus is in my first house now. So that changed lots of things in me in my relationships. So I think when it gets to your seventh house in Gemini, that can also change the way that you view relationships, you view partnerships, and that can also like kind of a mind shift, mental shift. So what do you think about that for the start?
Yeah, so I'm personally excited for Uranus and Gemini because I feel like if Sagittarius risings have been disappointed maybe by Jupiter and Gemini, they needn't worry because Uranus is hot on Jupiter's heels and is coming in to make a change, you know, maybe to your relationship status is one thing Uranus can do. If you have been single for a long time and you're resigned to the fact that you're single, I would say don't get too comfortable being single because Uranus is coming in for like some unexpected change to your seventh house. So it can be radical, unexpected, sudden change. And of course, Uranus is a slow moving planet, but it can be like a huge breakthrough in that part of your life where, you know, there's a change to maybe someone is on their own and they suddenly meet someone out of the blue in a very kind of divinely fated way. It could also manifest as your partner. If you're partnered, your partner could go through a big significant change in their life. Your partner could be going through a big breakthrough. Let's say if someone has been committed for a long time and they're engaged, they could like get married suddenly, like, you know, like run away together and get married when Uranus goes into the seventh house. It's that kind of energy as well. It can be just like a big shift in the relationship. And if you're in any kind of connection that isn't that healthy or isn't balanced, you know, the planets will come and, you know, they're not going to take anything from you that, you know, that is serving you. But if there's something there that isn't healthy, like, Uranus will help you break away from it in a really empowering way, not in a disempowering way, you know, because sometimes people fear transits, they don't like to hear things, you know, and as well, you know, if someone is in a really unhappy marriage, for example, Uranus can be the breakthrough, like, you know what, life is short. I'm a Sagittarius rising. I don't want to waste my life in an unhappy marriage. And, you know, North Node is in the fourth house. They're thinking about maybe their children. Saturn is in the fifth house. They're thinking about the consequences of their decisions. So Uranus in the seventh house could be, you know, give someone the courage maybe to leave an unhealthy relationship or a union. And it will, you know, be a big radical change, a radical shift, but it's a shift that's needed. And as you say, like it will totally change someone's views of relationships too. And it could manifest as meeting someone very unique that is unlike anyone you've ever been with before. And it could also manifest as like really unusual collaborations in your career, or unusual, you know, I don't like talking too much about the seventh house being the house of open enemies, but let's talk about it. Really unusual legal issues, you know. Jupiter is in the eighth house, Uranus is in the seventh house. So this is why I'm saying to Sagittarius risings, you know, to be squeaky clean and above board in all their dealings. You might have some unusual kind of legal battles are possible, like, you know, I'm not ruling them in or out. Because we have the thing is with Sagittarius risings, we have that mutable seventh house angle. So anything is possible. Mercury is a fast moving planet. There's lots of up and downs for Sag risings, and Gemini is the sign of multiples. I always say Sag rising has more than one significant relationship in their lifetime.
Definitely. So now I think vice versa. For example, Sagittarius risings usually say that, oh, I will not get married or settle down. This is something that I will never do. But they boom, suddenly they can get married and settle down. So Uranus might work oppositely as well. So we will see that hopefully.
Yeah, 100%. Sagittarius, if they meet a Uranian type character, you know, someone that doesn't restrict them, they can settle down, no problem.
Exactly. But of course, that will be a 7 year long transit. But I
Yes.
think it will be better than Uranus in Taurus, yeah, because Uranus will be more comfortable and adaptable in Gemini.
Mhm.
So, like, yeah, I wish the best for you with Uranus in your seventh
Thank
house.
you. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so there is one more good aspect that I want to talk about, which is Jupiter in late degree Cancer, and it will also trine North Node. So North Node will be in the fourth house, and in August, mid-August, Jupiter will trine North Node from the eighth house. So North Node, like it is like the destiny, it is where you need to go, it is where you need to head towards. And Jupiter rules the North Node at that time, and North Node will be in the fourth house. So Jupiter will be in the eighth house. So I think that will be the peak time that we talked, that the things that we have talked about, like intimacy, meeting someone, like new home environment, maybe buying home, new property. So Jupiter trine North Node, so mid-August. So I think you might have this type of themes like in the summer. So yeah, it can be maybe a nice summer for you, also romantically as well. Venus will be there as well. So yes, this summer looks good in my opinion, for everybody.
Yeah, I think that would be a really lovely trine as well, Matt. And as well, I always think when there's a trine to the North Node is really fated energy. It's like a sense of I am exactly where I'm meant to be. You know, I'm not meant to be anywhere rather than here, you know, right now. I think that's lovely with the North Node transits.
Exactly. So yeah, we will also wait for that. So this is one of the transits that I've been waiting for. So people ask
Mhm.
me what I'm excited about 2025. This is one of them. Okay, so great. We have talked about every major transit. So now I want to take a look at the end of the year. So when we come to the end of the year, we will see that planets are going back to the places that uh, they were before. So Saturn, Neptune will be in Pisces, and Uranus will be in Taurus. So what do you think these retrogrades will be about?
Yeah, I do think when Uranus goes back into the sixth house, it will definitely be, kind of tying up of loose ends around the huge change for Sagittarius risings and their work life. And it will be that sense of never going back.
Mhm.
It's like, there's like a scene in Alice in Wonderland where she drinks a potion that makes her smaller and she drinks a potion that makes her bigger. It's like you've drank the potion. You can never go back to your old life, that old, maybe that traditional career route that you were traveling on. Now, like the path has diverged, and if you're like me, you have two careers now,
Mhm.
and that's okay. Like you can navigate that. And I think that was a kind of a difficult thing for me to accept in the beginning. And I've had a lot of people say to me, "Oh, why don't you just be a full-time astrologer?" And I'm like, "No, I can't be a full-time astrologer because it's not consistent enough." And they're like, "But you're doing so well." And then I was thinking, okay, well, possibly I could be. But then I thought, look at my natal promise, look at my birth chart energy. I've got, all of this earth energy on my sixth house, my 10th house, my second house. I need traditional, consistent income in order to feel safe. And of course, I'm a Cancer sun, so I'm obsessed with safety. With my moon in the fourth house, Placidus, Matt, you know all about this kind of energy. It's all about security. My Mars in Capricorn, security, security, safety, rainy day fund. So I do think Uranus coming back into the sixth house for a lot of Sag risings will manifest as almost like maybe a glimpse at their old life and this realizing I can't go back. Like I made this huge shift. I've done this really scary thing, this radical thing. And also it could be, for some Sag risings, it could manifest as maybe leaving a career role or a position abruptly. It could manifest as that, maybe, maybe not, because you also mentioned Saturn is moving back into the
Mhm.
fourth house, and yeah, and Neptune as well. And there's like a conversation going on there between those planets. There's a sextile, isn't there, from Neptune to Uranus and the sextile from Saturn. So like there's helpful energy there around, that change you made in your career. For me, it was like suddenly I was working from home and I needed to put in place better boundaries around that because at the beginning I worked from home so much I became really overwhelmed. And like I was like, oh my God, I have no time to even clean my house. I have no time to meet my friends. I mean, all of this housework is piling up. I haven't even done my laundry. So it could be like, okay, I've accepted my new career or this change in my career, but I need to make it sustainable so that, I have a really good work-life balance and that it works for me around my home life. So that could be the case with that sextile there from Neptune and Saturn. But I would caution Sagittarius risings around making like a radical leap in their career because I'm sure some of them might be tempted to go and make this huge leap and leave something abruptly because of the Neptune being a 29 degrees sextile in Uranus. And I've had a lot of actual clients come to me, Matt. Not all of them are Sagittarius risings, but they've said to me things like, "Oh, I left my corporate gig and I went into a spiritual career and I just couldn't make ends meet and I'm so disillusioned. And what should I do now? What's my dream career?" And the reality is, you know, I always say, try to keep some regular source of income before going for like these spiritual gigs. It's really hard to, make a living. Only like the top, maybe like 10% of people in that industry can make enough money for it to be sustainable, to put food on the table and to cover all your bills. So I would, ask all Sagittarius risings to kind of use that Capricorn and Taurus and Virgo discernment around their career, especially when Uranus goes back into sixth house. And also, I guess, Matt, we shouldn't forget health issues could come up as well
Yes.
with Uranus back in there. I know that when Uranus entered my sixth house, I had like a kind of unexpected health issue. It did come out of nowhere, I guess.
Yes.
And the thing is, you can have things come out of nowhere. So all Sag risings and like all signs in general, need to have some elements of routine around their health and wellness, that they're eating relatively well, because we do love excess. We love rich food. Sagittarius risings, we're all guilty of eating sweet things. Christmas is coming up. And Uranus coming into the sixth house can be an unexpected health issue related to our lack of routine, our lack of working out, our lack of going to the gym, our lack of having any balance in our diet.
Definitely, it can be about health, sugar, diabetes, or this type of things, eating habits. So there might be some type of health issues appear and disappear out of nowhere sometimes. And it will be good to be cautious with health, with Uranus in the sixth house. So yeah, you're like break down perfectly. So I believe that it will be about these things. So that will be like the transition, I believe. So you will look back into your old life and you will kind of deal with things that you have to do, and then you will say goodbye until the planets again get back to the previous signs. So yeah, that can be about that. Okay, perfect. So I talked about everything I had in my head, so all the major bullet points. So would you like to add anything? Is there anything that you think we missed talking about?
Well, we left out our friend Mars, but I've never been a huge fan of Mars because
Yeah.
I have a day chart, as you know. But I think we chatted about some of the major transits, and I think like it's going to be a really exciting year for Sagittarius risings in general. And I think it'll just be really important that we're mindful of not getting too carried away, because all Sagittarius risings, we are prone to being over optimistic, to overextending ourselves, to being over ambitious, to overworking. Anything, any verb that you can put over in front of, Sagittarius rising is guilty of. So if we can all practice a little bit of, balance every year, not just 2025, that's the key to a happy life for Sagittarius risings, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Over and extra, Sagittarius. So over and extra. I love it. Okay. So thank you so much, Katrina. Thank you so much for joining with me. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for your
so much,
time.
Matt.
I will also add your like socials so that people can connect with you. So yeah, this is the end of the video, viewers. Thank you for watching, and I will be back with some more videos. Please stay tuned, subscribe and comment and share. So see you next time. Take care and goodbye.